All right, this is going to be our lesson on vertical angles. This is going to be very similar to the last couple lessons we've done. We're going to still be writing our sentences, setting up equations, and solving. So, our first example says that two lines meet at a point. We're going to set up and solve an equation to find x, find the value of x. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to write our sentence, okay? So, if you look here, we have two angles that are given to us. The two angles that I just circled. So we have the angle that's labeled 72, and we have the angle that's labeled x plus 15. They are across from each other, so we call these vertical angles. So they are vertical angles, which means they are equal. So vertical angles are always equal. So just like our sentences from before, I'm going to highlight. We have vertical angles, that's our vocab word, and vertical angles are equal. So that's what happens when you have vertical angles. All right, so let's set up an equation to solve. Well, if those two are equal, that means that the first angle, x plus 15, is equal to the other angle, which is 72. You could have written 72 equals x plus 15. That's the same thing. So we are going to solve. So we're going to subtract 15 from both sides. So on the left, we're left with x. I'm going to use my calculator. So 72 minus 15 gives us 57. So that's 57 degrees. Now, if you look here, it's just asking for the value of x. Since we found the value of x, we are done. All right, let's go to example 2. Okay, this time we have this diagram here. Just like the last couple lessons, as soon as you see that box, we should be labeling it 90 degrees, so we have that angle. And we're going to write our sentence and find C. Now, we can't go all the way around this diagram because this angle and this angle are unknown still. So we don't know those. We can't figure that out yet. So we can't do angles on a point. We can't do angles on a line because we don't know those two angles either. So the only option we have left is the vertical angles. So I'm going to do something I'm going to show you that if I draw the X like this, okay, usually vertical angles will have that X there, and the two angles that are across from each other are the vertical angles. So this is across from this angle here. So I have two angles across from each other. Now, the 144, if you notice this little arc here, that tells us that this whole thing is the angle 144. So we have angle 144, and that's across from these two angles on the other side. Now, when you have two angles, you're actually going to add them up to make one angle. So when you add them together, that will be one angle. So we have two angles here we're talking about. We have 144, and we have C plus 90. These are vertical angles. They are across from each other, which means they are equal. So vertical angles are equal. So I'm just going to highlight this for you. We have vertical angles. Here's your vocab word. And then they are equal. That's what happens when you have vertical angles. All right, so let's set up our equation. We have C plus 90 from the one side, and that's equal to 144 from the other side. So we're going to subtract 90 from both sides to solve for C. So I'm going to take my calculator here. I have 144 minus 90, which is 54. Now, if you take a look at this, this is asking to set up and solve for the value of C. We did that. Here's our value of C. So that is the entire question. We have answered it fully. All right, example 3. All right, here's our diagram. Right away I see that we have a 90-degree angle mark, so I'm going to fill that in. Now we can't go all the way around the circle. We don't know these two, so I can't use angles on a point. I can't use angles on a line either because we don't know those two angles. But I could make that X, and I'm going to make this a little thinner here so I can draw on it. So here I'm going to take this line right here and this line right here. I'm going to make an X with it. And the two angles that are across from each other are going to be the vertical angles. So we have this angle over here is across from this angle over here. So the one angle is just T, that's down at the bottom. And the other angle, we actually have two. We have 26 plus 90. So we add them together when they're next to each other. So these are called vertical angles, which means they are equal. Now in the homework that you do for this, you're going to see that every single time you're going to have the same sentence. You're going to tell me that it's a vertical angle, which means they are equal. You're going to tell me the same thing every single time. Okay, so let's write our sentence. T is one of the angles that I circled, and that's equal to the other angle, which is 26 plus 90. Now, this is easy to solve because T is already by itself. So all I have to do is pick up my calculator and do 26 plus 90. I'm just going to add those two together. I get 116 degrees. Now, notice that this just asked for the value of T. Okay, so here's my answer, value of T. All right, example 4. Again, I'm looking at this diagram. I can see I can fill in a 90-degree angle right away. I don't have these two, so that's a pretty good indication that we're going to be using angles on a line, or I'm sorry, vertical angles. So let me just draw the X that is formed. Okay, so here's my X, which means the angles that are across from each other are these two and these two. Those are the angles that are across from each other. So on the bottom half, we have 2x plus 3x. Remember, add them together when they're next to each other. So that's one of the angles. The other one is 90 plus 25. Add them together when they're across from each other. So this we're going to add, and this we're going to add. So they're across from each other, so they're called vertical angles, which means they are equal. So again, let me just point out, we have vertical angles here. We tell us that they're equal. So let's write our sentence, or our equation. All right, so we know that 2x plus 3x, that's one of the angles. I add those two together. That's the ones on the bottom. They're vertical, so they're equal to the other side, which is 90 plus 25. Now, if I add this up, 2x plus 3x gives us 5x. 90 plus 25, I'm going to pick up my calculator. 90 plus 25 gives us 115. Keep solving for x, so we're going to divide both sides by 5. So I'm going to just hit divided by 5 in my calculator since I already have the 115 there, which is equal to 23. Now, yes, this did ask for the value of x, which we just found, but it's also asking for two more angles here that we have to go back and find. So let me do that here. We have angle AOB. So angle AOB, I'm just going to trace that real quick. Angle AOB is this angle right here. So you can see inside it says 2x. So 2 times x. Now x we saw is 23, so we're just going to substitute that in. And then I'm going to multiply it in my calculator. So times that by 2 gives us 46 degrees. Now we still have to find angle BOC. So BOC is this angle right here, labeled 3x. So 3 times 23, let me go back and do that. 3 times 23 gives us 69 degrees. So now we have the two angles in addition to just x. All right, last example here. We have example 5. Here's our picture. Again, I see a 90-degree angle. I'm just going to fill that in right away. I notice that I don't have these two angles here, so I can't do angles on a point. I can't do angles on a line. I'm going to draw my x. So there's my x. I have two angles on the bottom. That's across from two angles on the top. So those are called vertical angles. So the angles on the top, we're going to take the two angles they give us, 90 and 30. We're going to add them together. That's the angle on the top. The angle on the bottom, we're going to add those two angles together. So I have 5x plus 3x. These are called vertical angles because they are across from each other, which means they are equal. I know you're going to get sick of me saying this, but I have my vocab word. It tells me they're equal to each other. So let's set up our equation. So we have the 90 plus 30, that's one of the angles, which is equal to the other angle, which is 5x plus 3x. So let's do some math. 90 plus 30, that gives us 120. 5x plus 3x gives me 8x. Let's divide both sides by 8. So 120 divided by 8 gives me 15 degrees. All right, so let's see here. It says find the value of x. We did that. Here's our value of x. We also have to find BAC and BAH. So let me go to another color. We'll do BAC. So BAC, this angle right here, which is 5x, so 5 times 15. I'm going to take my calculator to do that real quick. So 15 times 5 gives us 75. So that's the measure of one of the angles. The other angle is BAH. So if I trace that, I get 3x. So just replace your x with 15 so that when I multiply those together, I get 45.